I took care of my sick mom for years, but she left everything to my absent brother. I spent years putting my life on hold for my mother. Years. While my brother Ryan was off living his life, building a career, traveling, starting a family of his own, I was the one who stayed. I was the one who drove mom to every doctor's appointment, the one who sat beside her hospital bed on the worst nights, the one who spoon-fed her when she was too weak to lift a fork. I gave up promotions, relationships, and the chance to have a life of my own because I thought that's what family did. And the whole time, she would smile at me and say, "You're my rock. Don't know what I'd do without you." That should have been enough, but it wasn't. Because after all the sacrifices, all the sleepless nights, all the moments where I held her hand while she cried in pain, she still left everything to Ryan. I sat in the lawyer's office, the smell of stale coffee thick in the air, my hands gripping the arms of the chair as the will was read out loud. It felt like my ears had stopped working. The house, the savings, and all remaining assets will be passed down to my son, Ryan. Ryan. The same Ryan who had visited 3 times in 5 years. The same Ryan who couldn't even be bothered to return mom's calls half the time. The same Ryan who only showed up toward the end, when it was already too late. I barely heard the rest. The lawyer kept talking, but the words blurred together. I sat there, waiting for my name, waiting for her to acknowledge me in some way. And then I heard it. "To my daughter I leave." My breath caught. Finally. A small token of my appreciation for all the love and care she showed me. I leaned forward. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Her jewelry collection." Silence. I blinked. Ryan shifted in his chair, avoiding my gaze. That was it. That was all she left me. A box of old jewelry. I felt something inside me break. I didn't say anything at first. I couldn't. I just sat there, staring at the lawyer, waiting for him to correct himself. Maybe he had read it wrong. Maybe there was another page. Maybe this was some kind of cruel mistake, but it wasn't. Ryan, meanwhile, had the audacity to look uncomfortable. He rubbed the back of his neck, not meeting my eyes. When the lawyer finished, he let out a small breath and said, "Look, I didn't expect this either." I let out a sharp laugh, though there was nothing funny about any of this. "Didn't expect it? You barely visited her, Ryan. You weren't here. You didn't see what I saw." My voice cracked, but I didn't care. I had spent years bottling things up. Not anymore. Ryan had the nerve to look sympathetic. "I know you did a lot for her, okay? I do. But maybe she had her reasons." His words hit me like a slap. I felt a wave of rage, so strong I thought I might actually explode right there in that office. Her reasons? What reason could there possibly be for doing this to me? After everything, I turned to the lawyer, my heart hammering in my chest. Was this really what she wanted? My voice was quieter now, almost pleading. He hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. Something wasn't right. I narrowed my eyes. "Tell me the truth." He exhaled. "Your mother made this decision about 6 months ago. She was very clear in her wishes." 6 months ago, I froze. Because 6 months ago was when Ryan had finally started visiting again, and suddenly, it all made sense. Ryan hadn't just come back out of the goodness of his heart. He had come back to take everything. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. 6 months ago, that was when Ryan had suddenly started showing up again, acting like he cared, checking in on mom, asking about her health, playing the role of the concerned son. And now, he was walking away with everything. I turned to him slowly, my heart pounding. "You knew." Ryan frowned. "What?" I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. "You knew she changed the will. You knew she was going to give you everything." His face paled. "No, I let out a bitter laugh. "Don't lie to me, Ryan. You weren't here for years. And then out of nowhere, you start coming around just in time for mom to change her will? That's not a coincidence." He shifted in his seat, looking at the lawyer like he was hoping for some kind of escape. He wouldn't even look at me. The lawyer cleared his throat, uncomfortable. "I can assure you, your mother was of sound mind when she made this decision." I turned to him, anger burning in my chest. Was she? Was she really? Because 6 months ago, mom's health had been getting worse. She was tired, confused, easily swayed by emotion. And Ryan, he was charming. He knew exactly what to say, how to play the part. And I had been too busy taking care of her to see what was happening. Ryan let out a sigh, finally meeting my gaze. "Look, I get why you're upset, but this isn't my fault. I didn't ask for anything." I clenched my jaw. "You didn't have to," because he knew exactly how to position himself. He knew how to show up just enough to make mom feel guilty for how absent he had been. And it worked. She had chosen him, not me. I stormed out of the lawyer's office, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. The second I stepped outside, The cold air hit me, but it didn't help. Nothing could cool the fire burning inside me. Ryan followed me. Hey, wait. I spun around. Why, Ryan? Why did she choose you? My voice cracked, but I didn't care. I needed him to say it. I needed to hear the truth. He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. I don't know, he admitted. I really don't. I scoffed. That's a lie. I swear, I never asked her for anything. He sighed, shaking his head. But she felt bad, okay? She felt bad for how she raised us. She told me she regretted pushing me away, that she wanted to make up for it. I blinked, stunned. Make up for it? Ryan looked uncomfortable. She felt like she owed me, like she had spent her whole life favoring you. I stared at him. Favoring me. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't, because he believed it. All this time, while I was giving up my life for her, she had been apologizing to him. She saw me as her responsibility. She saw him as her regret. And in the end, she chose to make things right with him, even if it meant betraying me. I took a shaky breath, my hands curling into fists. So that's it. She gave you everything because she felt guilty? Ryan swallowed hard. I guess so. I nodded slowly. Then I stepped back, my voice calmer than I expected. Then I hope it was worth it. Ryan frowned. What do you mean? I met his gaze, my voice steady. You got what you wanted. You got the house, the money, the apology. I took another step back. But you lost me. His face fell. Come on, don't. I didn't let him finish. I turned and walked away because I had spent too long putting my life on hold for people who didn't choose me. And for the first time, I was finally choosing myself. I drove for hours, aimlessly circling roads I had traveled my whole life. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. My whole world had revolved around taking care of Mom, making sure she was comfortable, making sure she was never alone. And now, she was gone. And with her, the last piece of my past that tied me to Ryan. I pulled into a quiet parking lot outside a small diner, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. How could she have done this to me? How could she have watched me put everything aside, my job, my relationships, my future, and still decide that Ryan, the one who had barely been there, deserved it all? I had spent my entire life believing that if I just did the right thing, if I was selfless enough, if I showed enough love, it would be recognized, that in the end, I would matter. But love wasn't a currency. Sacrifice wasn't a guarantee of loyalty. And Mom's final decision had made one thing painfully clear. She had seen me as her caretaker, not her child. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror, barely recognizing the person looking back. I had spent so long living for someone else. Who was I supposed to be now? A knock on my window startled me. I turned, heart racing, only to find Aunt Linda standing outside, bundled in her coat, concern written all over her face. I rolled down the window. How did you find me? She gave me a knowing look. Honey, you always run to quiet places when you're upset. Some things never change. I swallowed hard, suddenly feeling like a child again. I don't know what to do, I admitted. My voice cracked, and to my horror, tears slipped down my face. She sighed and opened the car door. Then let's figure it out together. Aunt Linda and I sat in a booth at the back of the diner. The smell of coffee and grilled food thick in the air. I hadn't eaten all day, but my appetite was non-existent. I just stirred my tea over and over, watching the steam curl into the air. She didn't rush me, didn't push. She just let me sit in silence until I was ready. Finally, I exhaled. She left everything to Ryan. Aunt Linda didn't look surprised. She just shook her head. I know, I blinked. You knew? She sighed, tapping her fingers against the table. I suspected. Your mother. She always felt guilty about Ryan. She thought she had failed him. I let out a bitter laugh. So she made up for it by failing me instead? Linda's eyes softened. Honey, your mother loved you, but she saw you as someone strong. Someone who didn't need anything from her. I gritted my teeth. I didn't need anything from her. I shook my head, anger bubbling up again. I needed a mother. I needed to know that she saw me, that she appreciated me. But I guess I was just the one who was always there, so I didn't count. Linda reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You counted. You always counted. She just never knew how to show it. I swallowed the lump in my throat, staring down at the chipped tabletop. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Do I fight for what I deserve? Do I take Ryan to court? Or do I just walk away? Linda leaned back, studying me for a long moment. Then she said something I wasn't expecting. What do you want, sweetheart? Not what's fair, not what's right. What do you want? I opened my mouth, then closed it. Because I didn't know. I had spent my whole life making decisions based on what other people needed. For the first time ever, I had to choose for me, and I had no idea where to start. I sat there, staring at the steam rising from my tea, letting Aunt Linda's words settle deep inside me. What do I want? It was such a simple question, but I had no answer. My entire life had been about someone else. First Mom, now this mess with Ryan. I had never stopped to think about what I actually wanted for myself. Aunt Linda didn't rush me. She just waited, her presence steady, like an anchor, keeping me from drifting too far into my own thoughts. Finally, I sighed. I want to stop feeling like this. She raised an eyebrow. Like what? I swallowed. Like I'm nothing. The words felt heavy, but it was the truth. Mom's will had been more than just an inheritance issue. It had been a message, a confirmation of every doubt I had buried over the years, that no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. Linda sighed, shaking her head. You were never nothing, sweetheart. Your mother just made a choice that hurt you. That doesn't mean she didn't love you. It just means she was human. And humans mess up, sometimes in ways that can never be undone. I clenched my jaw, forcing back the lump rising in my throat. So what do I do now? Linda tapped her fingers against her cup, thinking. Then she said, you have two choices. You can fight this. Lawyers, courts, the whole thing. You might win, you might not. Or, she hesitated before finishing. You can let it go. Walk away and start fresh. Not because it's fair, but because you deserve peace. I exhaled, rubbing my temples. Neither option felt good. One would drag this fight out for months, maybe years. The other meant walking away from everything I had sacrificed for. How was I supposed to decide? Linda placed a gentle hand over mine. No matter what you choose, you don't have to do it alone. 2 days later, Ryan called me. I almost didn't pick up. I had nothing left to say to him, but something in me needed to hear his voice, needed to know what he had to say now that the damage had been done. I answered, my tone cold. What do you want? Ryan sighed on the other end. Look, I know you're mad. I let out a sharp laugh. Mad? Ryan, you stole everything from me, he groaned. I didn't steal anything. Mom made her decision. I clenched my fist. Because you manipulated her. Silence. I could hear him breathing, but he didn't argue. He didn't try to deny it. Then, finally, he muttered, I didn't think it would hurt you this much. I gritted my teeth. Then, you never really knew me at all. More silence. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. I'll sign over the house. My breath caught. What? He cleared his throat. I don't need it. I have my own life, my own place. If you want the house, it's yours. I sat up straighter, gripping my phone. And the money? Ryan hesitated. I can't give you all of it, but I'll split it with you. 50-50. Shock settled in my chest. I had been so sure he wouldn't budge, that he would hold on to everything, leaving me with nothing. But now he was offering to share? I exhaled slowly. Why? Ryan sighed. Because I don't want to lose you over this. I closed my eyes, feeling a strange mix of relief, exhaustion, and something else I couldn't name. I still didn't know if I could ever forgive him. But maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something better. I sat there, gripping my phone, Ryan's words still echoing in my head. I don't want to lose you over this. After everything, the years of absence, the betrayal, the will that had shattered everything I thought I knew about my mother, he was suddenly offering to make it right. But could I trust him? I let out a slow breath, my fingers tightening around the phone. You don't just get to fix this with a few words, Ryan. Do you even understand what you took from me? A heavy silence settled between us. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, softer. I do now, he admitted. I didn't before, but I do now. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But trust wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. And part of me still couldn't shake the feeling that he had only changed his mind because he had been backed into a corner. I sighed. If you're serious about this, put it in writing. Get a lawyer. Make it official. Ryan hesitated for a moment, but then he said, okay. No arguments, no excuses, just one word. Maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe he really was trying. But the real question was I ready to accept it? I wasn't sure yet. A week later, I found myself standing in front of my mother's house. My house. Ryan had followed through. He had signed over the deed, just like he promised. The money was still being sorted out, but at this point, I didn't even care about that. The house was what mattered most to me. The place where I had spent years taking care of Mom. The place I thought I had lost forever. And now, it was mine. But as I stood on the porch, staring at the familiar front door, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. This house had been my prison for so long, a place of duty, of sacrifice, of watching my mother fade away day by day. I had given up so much within these walls. And now, for the first time, I had to ask myself, did I even want it anymore? The thought shook me. I had spent so long fighting for this, fighting not to be erased. But standing here now, I realized something painful. I wasn't the same person who had once believed that holding on to this house meant holding on to my worth. This house didn't define me. I did. I exhaled, pressing a hand against the old wooden door. I had a decision to make. I stepped into the house, the air thick with memories. Every corner held pieces of my past. Late nights taking care of mom, mornings spent worrying about hospital bills, the endless cycle of exhaustion and sacrifice. But now, it was just an empty space. No warmth, no purpose, just walls and silence. I had spent so much time believing that this house meant everything, that fighting for it was proof that my efforts mattered, that mom had seen me. But now I wasn't so sure. Ryan had given up his claim without hesitation. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe he genuinely wanted to fix things. Either way, he had walked away. And yet, standing here, I realized this wasn't the victory I thought it would be. I ran my hand along the kitchen counter, the same one I had leaned on while making mom's tea every morning. I had tied myself to this place, convinced that leaving it meant erasing everything I had done for her. But that wasn't true. What I gave her, the love and care I poured into her final years, couldn't be measured by property or inheritance. I had been looking for closure in the wrong place. And now, I finally understood what I had to do. I sold the house, not out of anger, not because I wanted to hurt Ryan, but because I was ready to move forward. Holding on to it wouldn't undo the past. It wouldn't change mom's decision or erase the pain of being overlooked. The only thing it would do was keep me stuck in a place that no longer felt like home. The money from the sale gave me something I hadn't had in years, the chance to build something for myself. I moved to a new city, took a job that I actually enjoyed, and started focusing on my own happiness for once. Ryan and I didn't suddenly become close. Too much had happened for us to go back to pretending we were ever a real family. But we weren't strangers anymore either. He reached out now and then, making an effort that he never had before. I didn't trust him completely, but I didn't shut him out either. If he truly wanted to fix things, that was on him. As for me, I stopped waiting for someone else to give me what I deserved. I stopped chasing validation from people who couldn't see my worth. And most importantly, I finally chose myself, because life wasn't about proving my value to others. It was about knowing it for myself.